And hey, welcome to the EMS Underground, where I am making things up as we go. So I'm trying all kind of new technology, new ways to do things, and I'm stretching the limits of my computer possibilities here. I am Charles McFall with Georgia EMS Institute, Georgia Institute of EMS. Tom, you're gonna be mad. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slaughter the school name, but I have my shirt on. You can see the stuff here. And along with me today is my good friend and firefighter extraordinaire, Travis Jones.
Well, hello. What's going on, everybody?
And I see your firefighter shirt. You're with the, I'm going to try to say this right. You're with the city of Louisville.
Louisville. Right. Well done. Yes.
All right. The city of Louisville Fire Department. And it does look like everything is going well on YouTube. So today I'm having them do this on my YouTube channel and then share it over on the Facebook page for the EMS Underground, which is the Georgia Institute of EMS. And I'm going to get that done. I'm going to shut off Facebook and stuff, but people will be able to watch there live. And of course, we'll post a video. Always trying new things. And today we have Skype and Skype video, and it's just maxing things out. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the things you don't get in the books, right? The things you don't get taught in school. And a lot of times you don't even get taught this on the truck or in your work or anything like that. We're talking about taking care of yourself versus the quotey fingers being strong. And let's start with the being strong, Travis. Have you ever felt pressured to suck it up, for lack of better words, to, get in there? You can't show weakness. If you hurt yourself, you need to hide it. Maybe not blatant pressure, but if you've ever felt the need to be strong for your job.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's we say it. Me and a buddy of mine, we tell each other this all the time. We're our own worst enemy, and we'll be just on the verge of exhaustion. And if we see something that needs to be done, instead of going and saying, "Hey, can you guys go over and get that?" we do it ourselves, and we probably shouldn't be like that, but I mean, we take pride in what we do. I think everybody that takes pride in what they do is going to kind of push the limits. And but as I've gotten older and I've been doing this a long time, I've realized that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So I've got to kind of pace myself when I can.
Yeah, so you're talking about, in that sense of being strong, you're talking about, instead of delegating or asking for help on a call or in the everyday work, you're doing it yourself and wearing yourself out.
Right.
And that is a bad thing. In your particular department, well, yeah, but in your particular area, let's just say that, because we've always had the caveat, we never want anybody to incriminate themselves on this show or to harm their future in any way. But do you feel just an air of that's what you should do? Because if you start delegating, you don't look like a leader. You look like somebody who can't do it.
Right. Yeah, that exactly. And there's been some instances where I have thought that about somebody, so that's one of the reasons I don't do it, is because when I see somebody else asking somebody to do something, I'm kind of like, well, why didn't you do it yourself? You know what I mean? But not taking into consideration back then that this he's probably on his last leg, and that's the reason he asked somebody to do it. Like I said, me being older now, chronologically, physically, and being around the job more, I now see that's a vital part of what we do, is maybe delegating some of the stuff. And we've got a saying in our department is, let the new boy do it. And that's what we call our rookies. Some call them probies, we call them new boys. And if there's a ceiling needs to be pulled or a door needs to be breached, we're like, hey, new boy, come over here and breach this door. The pride thing for us, I've been there, done that. I've worked at a very busy house for 16 years. Next March I'll be in the department 19 years.
Right.
So I've made my share of runs. I've been there, pretty much done it all, and it's time for somebody else.
Yeah, I have never. I'm hesitating now. I'm trying to post this video over to Facebook so that people on the Facebook page can find it. I started with private EMS. I've worked around But I think I carried that in. I carried that need to be the best, to be the strongest, to never look weak in front of somebody. I brought that into the industry with me before I got in. I do remember through EMT school, the whole time they were saying team lift. You know, you have the stair chair, use these tools. If you're doing a backboard, here's how you do it. You know, get as many people as you can. Always be safe. And yet I found myself towards the end of my career defining myself by being the best. And I always told I can remember plain as day the thing I told my EMT partner. I was training her, or she was an EMT, so I wasn't like teaching her how to be an EMT, but at first I oriented her to the job of how we did things in that service. And then I requested her as my partner, and I kept her for a year. But I always told her flat out, you will never beat me to the truck. I will always be there faster than you will. And, you know, I just instituted this thought of you could try to be me, and here's the thing to achieve. And what I was doing is what you said. I was burning myself out. I was becoming exhausted all the time. I never felt like I got enough sleep ever. I mean, I could go home for the 2 days off and sleep for 48 hours straight and would just wake up exhausted and tired because it was a mental and spiritual burden more than a physical burden. Because if you sleep on a physical burden, right, you will get rested. How have you changed that? Or are you still that way? Do you still try to do it yourself? Because I'm Travis Jones.
Right. Well, that's part of it now is, you know, I'm at a slower company now. So we don't make the runs I used to. So now when we do make runs, we've got a lot of young guys on the department. Some guys don't know me. So when I do show up on runs or we do make scenes, I do feel like, well, this guy don't know me. He don't know that I was at Engine 6 for 15 years. And, you know, we were first in on a lot of houses. I gotta prove to him that I deserve to be out here, that I'm not some slug that just sits on his butt all day and watches movies and, you know, eats popcorn. So yeah, that is some of my mentality. And that's an ego thing. And I think that's what a lot of us, you know, I come from a sports background, and that mantra that you just said, you got to be the best, you got to be the fastest, you got to be the strongest. I mean, you know, you that's ingrained in me to a certain extent. But I also realize, like, again, I'm going to say this probably 1,000. If you're playing a drinking game where I talk about me being old, I'm not going to make it through the show, I promise. But me being older now and being hopefully, not much, as my wife would probably attest to, a little bit wiser, I know that I can't do that. I need to step back, maybe show somebody how to breach a door with minimum physical exertion, how to get to a roof with minimal physical exertion, how a strategic place to cut the hole in the roof. You know, just work smarter, not harder, is more my mantra now than, oh yeah, it's a double dead bolted steel door with security grates on it, I'm going to kick it in. You know what I mean? Because I'm Travis Jones. I'm trying to get away from that. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about ourselves for just a second, because I know you. We jumped right into the topic. We're talking about being strong. We're also going to talk about taking care of yourself, which is in the title. Taking care of yourself is listed first because that is more important than being strong. But how long have you been a firefighter, Travis?
I came in of March of 1998.
1990. I barely graduated high school by then. Actually, I was. No, that's not true. I was an EMT for a year or so. So yeah, from 96 to 97, I did EMT school, and then by 98, I think I finally found the right service to learn, and so I was a brand new EMT. So I guess we probably got started about the same time. How old are you?
Yeah, sounds like. What's that?
How old are you?
I'm 44. I'll be 45 in March.
So you got a little bit later. Sorry, I am 39, and we'll be 39 in March as well. We don't get older, man. We just get better. But here's been my journey. We're talking about being strong, right, versus taking care of yourself. What you just said, I have to prove I'm not some old-timer slash that just sits and watches movies and does nothing. that has been some of what we see in this field. And I'll talk about my limited firefighting experience here in a minute. But I know in EMS, going from different services, private, county-based, whatever, hospital-based, you will see old-timers. And I use the air bunnies there, but you will see old-timers who do just, they've gotten really overweight, which is important in firefighting. I mean, in firefighting, you can't be overweight, right, typically.
Right.
As a paramedic, you can be, as long as you can walk, you can be as heavy as you want to be. It was just sad but true. But they've gotten overweight. They're definitely out of shape. And they do sit around and they do kind of be the people who, the old timers, I mean, even if they're not out of shape or out of weight or whatever, they're oh, you go do that. And you're like, well, what are you doing? And that is a negative stereotype that I know I was taught somewhat versus also having good leaders and people who are like, hey, I've done this all my life. Let me throw this to you. Do you feel like that the people who've done well, who are still the go-getters, they become administrators and now they're no longer in the field doing this job, and you kind of go, but I like doing this job. If I do it well, I don't want to be a desk jockey.
Right.
So
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, to give you a little history of me and my family. I'm second generation. My dad was a captain on the fire department for 30 years. Got on in 59, retired in 89. I was in school. I just graduated Louisville. I was going to be a teacher, and I was actually getting ready to start my master's work when my dad said, "Hey, the fire department's hiring. I think you might like it." So that led me into the fire service. But there was not a day for probably 10 years that my dad, every time I would talk to him on the phone, would go, "Hey, you need to study for that sergeant's exam." A lot of people call them engineers. I think they're engineers in Georgia.
Yeah, I think so.
You need to study for that company commander's exam. You need to be a district chief. You know what I mean? And I never did.
Encouraging you to go up the line.
Encouraging me to better myself. It makes for a better pension. A lot better pension, actually. But I love what I do. That's one of the reasons I stayed at a busy house for so many years. I loved my guys. And in our department, in the first district is our urban area. There's a lot of calls, a lot of fires, and it just seemed like the best group of guys you ever want to work with in your life were in that group. And I never wanted to leave it. So there's a part of me that was always trying to push the envelope to prove that I belong. Because it's a badge of honor. When I would get detailed out to other houses to cover vacations or whatever,
right.
I go to the 4th District, which is a much slower area. And, I come in with my Engine 6 shirt, my Engine 6 helmet, and they would go, "Oh God, you leave at first." Me is like, I already had a stigma on me. Like, we call it wearing capes. Did you pack your cape? Because, we were superheroes in the 1st District. Yeah. But let me, just to give a little bit of transparency, I want to let you know that I'm not just a firefighter. I'm also EMT. When I first got in the department in 98, we were required to ride a minimum of 12 hours a day on an ambulance. I worked with some great paramedics. I did that for 7 years until they took the EMS out of the fire department and made it a 3rd service. So, and they are currently a 3rd service, but even in at the busy house at Engine 6, we still did, our breakdown of runs was probably 70% medical, 30% fire related runs. So I'm very familiar with the EMS service. We work to this day hand in hand with medics. Full arrest, heroin's a huge problem now, as I'm sure everybody knows that's listening.
So you don't like superhero females, is what you're saying?
They're my favorites.
Not heroines, heroin. My bad.
Heroines.
my bad. So I'm trying to watch on my tablet here in case I've got multiple screens. I'm trying to manage a whole lot going on. My computer's not quite up to the task to what we're trying to push today. So, here's to breaking boundaries is what we try to do technologically and otherwise here on EMS Underground. So I do have my tablet. You'll notice me looking around. I am open to taking questions. If people are, on the Facebook, I can't really monitor the YouTube chat because I just don't have the CPU to do that right now. So let's talk about injuries. Did you ever injure yourself because you're being strong, being prideful? Showing off is the wrong word, because we know there are people who show off, and you don't strike me as the kind of guy who is that, unless you have and you want to tell that story. But have you? I know you've had some injuries. We're going to talk about how both of us have had injuries in the line of duty and otherwise, and how it affected our jobs and what we did for it. But have you hurt yourself because you were being strong?
Not work related. No. I had an injury. I fell through a floor probably back in 2003. It really wasn't because I was trying to do anything. We were just me and my captain were looking for the seat of the fire. Couldn't find it. I kind of ventured off into another room. He went straight. I went to the left just for a second. Floor gave through. Went to the basement. Kind of jammed my neck up a little bit. But other than that, no. But recently, when you and I met,
right,
I was off. I had a back injury. I have a bone spur on my vertebrae that digs into my spinal column. And well, what would happen was it had gotten so inflamed. And I remember I had a block of wood that I put up by the apparatus so I could step on that block of wood to get up in the truck, because my back, by the end of the day, I'd wake up, it would feel okay. By the end of the shift, I mean, we work 24-hour shifts, so it would just kill me to even take a step up. So finally, I ended up having to do something. But I probably worked with that, probably over a year, because I didn't want to take off for it. I didn't want to look like a turd, for lack of a better word. So yeah, but when I finally decided to say, I can't do this anymore, I've got to get it looked at, my doctor was like, oh yeah, you're not going to work till we can get this fixed. End up going through some different measures of therapy, end up getting epidurals on my back, and it was the best thing I'd ever done. Knock on wood, it hasn't bothered me since. So, but I feel like me pushing, trying to prove I belong, trying to be strong. I could have gotten help a lot sooner than I did.
I got you. Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like I had a similar issue. But Paul, when you are out for an injury in your department, do you get 100% of your pay?
Yes, we're very fortunate. We do.
That is fortunate. I on mine, I had short-term and long-term disability with the service I was with, and vacation time, right? Mm-hmm. And I honestly can't remember if I had to use up my PTO, paid time off, is what that stands for. We didn't have vacation or illness. It was all one lump sum, and you earned for every hour you worked, you earned a fraction of an hour for PTO or whatever.
Right.
And I can't remember if I had to use that up. But of course, that was 100% full pay rate. But short-term and long-term disability were 60% of my pay. And where I was at the time, and I've talked about this before, and we hope to do an actual show / maybe even lessons in the actual school of Georgia Institute of EMS about managing your money, because that is a huge thing to learn in this field. And that's not something we're going to go off on, but you see Travis is vigorously nodding his head. And you're not going to get rich as a firefighter. And all the firefighters I knew that actually had money, it was because they had second jobs, typically as contractors, as builders, as somebody who worked with their hands and did a lot of hard labor. And putting the two jobs together, you have a comfortable living or better. Travis Jones lives in a mansion suitable to Bruce Wayne, but that's because he's Batman. So that's fine. Don't tell anyone. But at the time, I wasn't managing my money very well. I was living paycheck to paycheck. It was very much of a struggle. And I decided to relieve some tension, right? I had dealt with my grandfather going through a fusion surgery in his back and in Florida, and having to help him move up to Georgia where we were so that my wife and I could help him and he could stay with my parents. And just a lot of things were going on. And I was a motorcycle rider at the time. I still have my motorcycle license. I no longer own a bike right now. But at the time, I was a newbie motorcycle rider, and I was decent on mid-level bikes. And I had a friend of mine who's a medic who was dumb because he let me borrow his motorcycle, which was much larger than anything I'd ever ridden in my life. And my buddy had his mid-sized bike, and we had this path planned out, except I forgot about this big angle of a railroad crossing. And sure enough, after we fuel up the bikes and we're going, I mean, this thing is big, but on regular, even on gravel. I mean, I'm always nervous on gravel because gravel can really screw up your day on a motorcycle. Yeah. But I pulled out of the gravel lot just fine. We're doing just fine. Everything's good. So, okay, I'm getting used to the bike. And we leave the fuel station and start to take our path. And right around the corner is this railroad crossing. And literally, in the whole path we had planned out, this is the only dangerous spot in the whole thing. And sure enough, a train's coming, and my buddy gets across, and I don't. So I stop. And I'm parked at this 45-degree angle on a bike I've never been on with a train 5 feet from me, scaring the piss out of me, to be honest with you. I mean, when you're that close, it's scary when the train goes whizzing past you.
It's it.
And of course, there's people behind me. And short version is, after the train passed, I tried to ease on the throttle and go forward, but I didn't know the bike. So as I eased, I pulled a little too hard. It threw me back. Of course, gave it more throttle. Ended up severing my ACL in my left knee. And and it damaged the meniscus a little bit. It's not funny, but what's funny is I'm an active paramedic at this time, and my own territory, by the way. So my friends are going to have to come pick me up now.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so, I flipped the bike. I'm on the ground, and what I can remember is it's dark because I have my eyes shut. And I'm doing a head-to-toe assessment, Travis. I'm going, all right. When my neck can move, I can wiggle my fingers. I can kind of wiggle my back. There's no. I'm doing it slightly because, if I hurt my back, I don't want any big movements to snap it or whatever. So I'm testing things. Okay, and I go to move my leg. Bright white fireworks go off in my brain. And I swear to God, man, I don't know if I screamed out loud. In my head, I didn't scream. In my head, I was a paramedic and went, "Oh, hey, don't do that again. That was not smart."
Right.
So.
Golly.
I'm going to close this. It's throwing a weird light on me. Nobody's asking questions anyway. So I ended up going to the hospital. That's where we found out I severed my ACL. Now, the ACL keeps stability to your knee. You can still walk. It was very painful. They sent me home in a basic splint and said, follow up with this surgeon or whatever. And I went to the surgeon. They put me. You ever seen Tommy Boy, Travis?
Yeah.
The MRI they had was not built for me. So it was like fat guy and a little machine. It was so messed up. But luckily it was my knee, so they didn't have to push all of me in. But that's how they found out the damage. And the guy was like, yeah, you severed your ACL. We have to try to find another muscle to put in there. And I had insurance, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be out of work. And this was like in October. And they said, we're going to try to find a muscle and this and that and the other. And they kept giving me the runaround. Didn't like the bedside manner. And ultimately, I had what you were talking about, that need to get out there and do more, except I'm only getting 60% of my pay. So we're having a super hard time paying our bills.
Absolutely.
And instead of finding another way to do it, having my wife pick up some extra hours somewhere or asking for family for money or getting anything, I was strong. And I kept pushing the doctor to let me go back to work. And they had prescribed to me a special knee brace to help with stability, which was the wrong knee brace. It was such a hullabaloo about how to get the right stuff to keep me correct. But after Thanksgiving, I'd called my work to say, hey, do you have any light duty? And they didn't. And it just was, the opportunity was not there. Because if the opportunity had been there, they would have put me back to work as a dispatcher because we handled our own private dispatch for non-emergency transports. So I could go sit and dispatch for 8 to 10 hours a day, and that had been fine with the doctor. And the doctor finally just said, whatever, man, just go back to work. He got tired of me calling him. And I ate Motrin like it was candy, dude. Yes. The knee brace was not stabilizing my knee. Like ambulances aren't nearly as high as fire trucks, but I was having to get in and out in a very special way. I was miserable. I was in pain. Finally found a new doctor, and he told me to quit working, which I did not do. But he gave me a better brace. And that helped a lot. And ultimately, I got the surgery, did my work, did the rehab. rethought my entire life choices up to that point. As far as
Sure,
what I was
it'll
doing.
do that to you. Yeah.
Right. You thought about leaving the field at that point. But here's the thing. The moral to that story is, one, I felt like I had to go make money, period. And I wasn't taking care of myself like you're talking about, Travis, with your bone spur and your back. You're finding ways to work around it and just enduring the pain, taking the legal drugs you can take while on duty.
Right.
You like Motrin, aspirin, those kind of things. I actually got Toradol prescribed to me at one point, which is a non-narcotic, so I could take it while being on the ambulance. That helped a lot. But I'm making bad choices because I feel pressured to be strong and to do this by myself. Nobody else is pressuring me to do this. But when I got the right help, I got the right doctor, I got the right knee brace because of him, I got surgery like that. And that was the other thing with the other doctor. By Thanksgiving, I said, I got to go back to work. I'm not getting paid. And because they were like, oh, in January, we'll do the surgery. I'm like, that's 2 freaking months from now, dude. I'm not making any money.
Yeah.
And
back.
Yeah. So the new doctor, it sped up. And long story short, I learned the hard way to stop being strong, to stop trying to be the first one to the truck. I learned to follow the instructions, to trust that somebody outside of myself has my best interests at heart, and to know that there are other ways to make up the pay than to hurt yourself. Because in my case, I could have ruined my knee and then never worked again. Travis, you could have been paralyzed. I mean, you would have been worse. You could, in theory, you could have been paralyzed. Now, like you said, I met you when you were going through your rehab, and I was asking you about the concept of questioning your choices. Are you going back to work? And you were like, yeah, man. And you have a very set goal. If my calculations are right, you're 18 years in now, roughly?
Yeah, it'd be 19.
Yeah, 19 in the spring.
19.
So
I'll retire July 30th, 2018. That'll be my last day.
And you're a dog with a bone on that, which is smart, which is good, because then you get your pension, even though, you're a failure to your dad and you never made something.
Right.
But interestingly enough, what you did was you didn't find a way to get out. You know what? I want to stop there. I want to ask you a question because you were agreeing with me. When you questioned your life choices, when you were out with your back, what was the process? How'd you keep yourself mentally sane and focused on, I really do want to go back to work?
Well, with my back injury, which after I returned with my back, which you know this as well, I had an accident in the gym. Which, okay, I'm out with my back. I got it taken care of. I'm back on track, right? Feeling the best I had in years. Okay. I go to the gym all the time. I had a workout partner. We were really hitting it strong. Probably the strongest I'd been in my adult life physically. And I was in a good place emotionally, financially, everything. So, everything's firing on all cylinders, right? Well, a buddy of mine, my training partner, we were working out. I tore my bicep tendon spotting him during a flat bench dumbbells. So after all that, the month I'd had that was fantastic. Now I've tore my bicep tendon. I knew driving to the hospital, I left the gym, went straight to the emergency room, and I was like, God damn it. What is going on? So that's really, because that was a long process, which ACL tear, tendon injuries are the absolute worst. You're better off tearing a muscle. They heal quicker. Tendon injuries are just slow healing, slow rehab. So that I had a lot of time to think, even though it wasn't like I was trying to squat 500, 600 pounds or, I wasn't trying to do anything crazy. It was a kind of a fluke accident, but I'm older now. My body's older now. I can't do what I did when I was 25. That's when I started to reassess everything and think, okay, things need to be reward now for me. I'm in a physical field. There's no way I can get away from it totally. No way I want to get away from being physical totally. But I have to be smarter now about what I do. So where can I get the maximum results with the minimum amount of effort? And I'm not talking about being lazy. Like, again, I said earlier, work smarter, not harder. That's kind of my tendon injury was really what made me kind of rethink things, because like you, even though I have 100% pay, when we're off, I'll put it to you like this. Our department really looks down on you if you're off for an extended amount of time. Now, I still say people rush back too soon. My arm, when I went back to work, was probably 70%. Everybody said, don't go back to your 100%. Don't go back to your 100%. Okay. I couldn't. I had to go back. So,
and that is something you do struggle with is, okay, even if your higher ups, your chiefs, your directors, your shift captains, whatever, even if they are physically saying out of their mouth, do not come back to your 100%, and they mean it. I'm doing the best case scenario here, and they mean it, and they really want you to be taken care of. Life moves on. And when you're talking about 3, 6, 8 months, year that you're out, you've missed policy changes. You've missed bonding things. You've missed the ability to prove that you're worthy to move up the ranks. You've missed so much stuff that even if they 100% absolutely positively mean it, you're going to get left behind. And that's the hardest part of taking care of yourself, is taking care of yourself, because your mind is telling you, I've got to do this. And I was going to ask you if you rushed back too soon, and you got to it. You said you were about 70%. But that, I rushed back too soon. I mentioned that. But that is what taught me to slow down, to delegate. I had a really good partner. I had a really good crew around me, both in fire and in EMS, because we were a private EMS service based in a fire station with a fire crew. And in fact, I had gone to eat dinner with the fire crew on crutches after I'd had the injury, just because I missed the guys and they missed me. And and you have that sense of you're putting a burden on somebody, right? Because your spot is being held. It has to be covered by somebody.
Exactly.
But I remember going back, and the fire crew was like, hey, they always call me Charlie in the box because it was in the ambulance. And firefighters like their nicknames if they like you. If they don't like you, it's Mr. Right?
That's right.
And I was never a firefighter officially, just to be clear. I was always EMS, but I worked closely with fire. Sure. But they always say, oh, Charlie in the box, we'll get that. They'd carried the bag for me. So I essentially started being the supervisor on scene with a clipboard in my hand. My partner was like, yeah, no worries. We're going to take care of you. Because one of the things I did, even though I made a lot of bad decisions in my life and I was mean to people and I said harsh things because I thought it helped people, and maybe it did. But the other flip side to that was I was just as kind and giving. I'd always make sure to take care of them on a personal level, always invested in their lives, helped them out, was a positive energy kind of guy. And I was the walking yin yang, though. I mean, I could be, Travis, you're the best firefighter, man. Thank you for helping me. And then tomorrow I'd be like, in 4-letter words, be like, you're a screw up. You just screwed my patient. What do you do? So it was, but my point was, I guess I invested more positively, that everybody was like, no, we understand you're hurt and we understand you have to get paid. We're going to do everything we can to help you because we know you would do that for us. And that helped me sit back in the captain's seat and go, okay, I don't have to stick every IV. I don't have to lift every stretcher. I don't even have to get the bag every single time. And now I physically cannot get to the truck before everybody else. And guess what? Life didn't end.
Right, exactly. We have our crews. We work with several different crews, and we all know who they are. It's like, as soon as I see them get out, I'm either happy to see them or I'm not. And the guys, the EMS crew that has pride in their job and wants to do everything, if for some reason they can't, I'm Johnny on the spot. I will help them. I will do anything in the world for them that they need, and it won't bother me a bit. Now, there's other crews that they're always looking to get out of stuff. They do a crap job. They don't know their jobs. And those are the people, when they get out of the ambulance, I'm like, oh, God, here's this group. You know what I mean? And then when they do ask me for something, I do have an attitude, because I'm like, what do you mean? You don't do anything. You never do anything. You do it. You know what I mean? But the people that you're talking about, the people that we're kind of discussing, the the people that want to be strong, the people that push themselves to be good, to have pride in what they do. There's no links to what I'll do for that group. And there was a girl, I won't mention her, but she was a fantastic paramedic. My very first real save that I give, that I count, as far as like a full arrest goes, it was with her. She's sharp. She works hard. She was always Johnny on the spot, always in there, always wanting to know what she could do more. And she ended up getting in a real bad car wreck, horrible car wreck. They didn't know she would ever come back to work, and she did. Sounds like a lot like your situation. And anytime I made a run with her, what do you need, Ashley? What do you need? I got it. Other than actually, starting the IV, I get the bag ready. I would get all of her drugs ready to stretch. What do you need? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know that she's physically unable to now.
Yeah. And that, okay. So part of taking care of yourself is to make sure you're able to take care of yourself when you go back. I went back and was able to, but it was easier when people helped me. I mean, I could physically lift a stretcher. Because I refuse to put myself in a situation where I can't, even though I hate the word not, and that's a whole nother thing, where I'm unable is a better word, where I'm unable to safely do something, because then that puts my partner in danger. That puts my fire crew in danger. So I was able to lift a stretcher. I was able to bend my knee. It just made me miserable. It was a horrible situation. But the next level of taking care of yourself is what happens, Travis. And I'm not saying that actually was this, but I know you've been around stories enough, as I have, when somebody comes back who isn't able and people start covering for them. That damages everybody in the process, doesn't it? Especially if something goes wrong. Have you had that situation where something? I mean, obviously, you've seen where people cover, but have you had it where it is blown up in somebody's face and now you have major problems?
There is something kind of going on right now, and I really can't talk about it.
That's fine.
I'm on our executive board for our union, and there's a person that had an injury, and it's affected him as he's come back to work, and it is some incidents have happened. Luckily, nothing major that, where somebody was hurt or anything like that, but it was a matter of time kind of deal. And we're kind of in a process now of trying to see what options we have for this person, because great guy, fantastic guy, nice guy, was good at his job, but physically is kind of unable to do what he did.
That's such a hard spot to be in.
Oh, it's a horrible spot. I feel so sorry for the guy.
And you're in a hard spot, you and the board, because it's like you're torn between loyalty and nice guy versus having to do the job.
Yes.
So, and there are slower crews, like you've mentioned. Every area has it, and sometimes we call a truck a retirement truck. When you're a little bit older,
right? Yeah. That's what I'm on now.
Yeah, you're on the retirement truck now.
I am. Yeah.
It's because you can only flex one muscle good. The other one's kind of still floppy because it's 70%. So, we've actually gone through this a lot faster than I thought. I've got some questions prepared to give us some more discussion. But what we like to do here on EMS Underground is usually myself, Tom Camplain, who runs the Georgia Institute of EMS, located in Covington, Georgia. It is an online school mixed with brick and mortar, so you do get hands-on, but you do a lot of the book and the testing there online at your own pace. It's really cool. So check out Georgia Institute of EMS on Facebook, and of course there's a website and all that jazz. And that's who owns this show. And that's who I work for to do this show. But the whole idea, the heart, when he approached me to talk about wanting to use social media to expand the knowledge base of the students, to expand the brand of the school, to say, hey, this is what we're doing. His heart was never to just be an advertisement for the school. He wanted to teach things that just didn't have time or didn't come up in a classroom, that maybe, Travis, you've taught a partner or two. I know I've had personal conversations with a partner or two, but it's not widespread. So what we try to do here is foster a discussion. And we have an I've said EMS so much I can't say email right now this way. We have an email address for the show that I didn't write it down, so I don't exactly remember how it's supposed to go. So you could go to EMS, Georgia Institute of EMS. It's all spelled out. Georgia is all spelled out. Institute of EMS on Facebook, and leave your questions there. Usually we do this. This is live, but I had to tweak the connections, so we're not able to take the live questions as we normally do. But I have some questions for you, Travis, for discussion purposes. And on the last episode we did, I actually asked Tom this, and I'm going to throw it to you because what I like to do is end an episode, and we still have another 20 minutes to go, but I like to end an episode with a question for the next week for everybody to think about and share their stories. But this is all about stories and discussion and experience and how to learn from that, because that is just as valuable or even sometimes more valuable than what you can learn in the book. So here is your question. Now, fill in fire truck for ambulance here, or rescue or whatever. Has your ambulance ever gotten into an accident with an emergency in progress?
I have never been on an ambulance or a fire engine or truck that now what I do have is we were responding to a school bus crash, and my fire truck was hit by an ambulance.
Oh no! Like en route and going there, not on scene.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened. They were responding. I mean, lights and siren. I mean, we were right there. It's like, turn your siren off. We get it. You're here, And I guess when they went to turn around the back end of the truck, they just sideswiped the whole side out of it. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad news.
But nobody was hurt, and you were able to still handle the situation.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, no one was hurt. Thank God. Just a lot of paperwork.
And a lot of anger in your face going, the school bus is there and our injuries are over here. And right. So I also have never actually been in an accident. We were in the deer capital of the U.S., and Jasper County has more deer in its area than anywhere else in the state, but maybe not the U.S., but definitely the state. Never hit a deer with an ambulance. I've seen people do. I've heard you have seen the results of people doing it. A little side story. Okay, so Travis, ambulances have to be kept clean in the back, right?
Right.
Now, there's no such thing as sterile in the back, not really, but you can use Clorox and get it really, really good clean. So this idiot hits a baby deer, mid-sized deer, with their ambulance coming from one station to the other, right? And they're such an bleeding heart animal lover. This deer's broken and in misery. And instead of calling like the cops or animal control to kill it, to put out its misery, they put the deer in the back of the ambulance and then brought it to town, to which then the paramedic captain went, "What the blankety blank are you doing?" And they had to call the county supervisor in, and that person ended up getting fired because it took hours on hours on hours to decontaminate the back of the truck with the rabies possibilities, deer hair everywhere, deer blood. They ended up getting, I don't know if they got fired on the spot, but they ended up getting fired. But that's,
oh my God.
Dummies.
That's going.
But as far as accident while emergency's in progress, this wasn't necessarily an emergency. And in theory, here's what would happen is then now you have two incidences, right? Let's say you guys had collided earlier on. You would have that collision as a separate incident, and somebody else would you'd then have to bring out more crews, and it would tax the resources of the service, depending on the size of your service. I know in my small county where that deer story happened, we had 2 ambulances and no full-time firefighters. It's all volunteer. So had an ambulance been going to an accident and then gotten in an accident, we have 1 ambulance left. Which one do you go to? And we have to call them back. Right. It's a mess. So that's how that would be handled. Now, me personally, I was on duty, and I had to actually take over for this crew. They were doing a non-emergency transport out of a hospital, It was coming down a road where there's one stop sign where you come in to the road, but where they were, there's no stop sign. They had right of way, everything. It was lights and sirens. So I guess it wasn't emergency transport. I can't remember, to be honest, if they had lights and sirens or not. But basically, this person pulls out, not in front of them to where they T-bone them, pulls out as they get to where this stop sign is, but it's not their stop sign. Again, being clear, it's a one-way stop, and that person who pulled out was supposed to be stopped. I don't know if they ran it, if they pulled up, they hit the side of the truck right behind the driver's door, right at the beginning of the truck. The truck went on its side. I mean, it's just that kind of impact. I don't know what happened with the lady in the car that pulled out, but of course, both medics had to be taken right back to the hospital. The patient who was strapped down, the patient came out better than anybody else because she's strapped down to a stretcher that's locked into the floor. You know,
Right.
She might have gotten hit in the face with a little bit of stuff, but she was fine. Ultimately, I had to go to the hospital, take that patient, and get him up to the other hospital. But yeah, it was, I mean, seeing the truck, it was bad. I mean, I think this person ran the stop. I don't think they pulled out. I think they ran the stop sign. I mean, that kind of impact. It destroyed the truck, you know, and it sat in our back lot for a long time till the insurance finally handled everything to scrap it and get a brand new one. The EMT that was in the back took a long time to heal. I don't remember all their injuries. The driver actually got the best of it. I mean, they were injured some, like a sprained shoulder or something, but the EMT in the back got the worst of it. I don't know. I think the person who pulled out from him ultimately died. But everything was found that the EMTs did 100% correct. They did everything legally, responsibly. But it definitely hurts you across the service because you feel for your compatriots. You have to go and handle the back end of that. And luckily, we were coming out of another county, so that county handled it. But you got to know, too, Travis, it doesn't matter if you're in Louisville or if you get called as back up to, you know, a surrounding city or county. If you see something with lights on it that is a public service vehicle, doesn't your OS meter go up just a little bit?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and there in Louisville, it's only been, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 years that it was against the law. And now it's against the law. You have to give the right of way to emergency vehicles. 5 or 6 years ago, you didn't.
Interesting.
Like, it was a courtesy.
Interesting.
So yeah, and I was about to say, as I was thinking, you were telling that story, and I was thinking back about, I guess this has been about 10 or 11 years ago. We made a run. It was about 4 blocks away from the firehouse. An ambulance was T-boned at an intersection on their way to emergency run, and all 3 people were ejected from the car that ran the red light. And all the witnesses said the car ran the red light. When we got there, I'll never forget. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is kind of gross. It's not too bad.
You can be gross. I mean, our major audience is EMT students. They need to know the gross.
I figured. Well, when we got the truck, we seen the ambulance. It was on its side, and you know how those things, they're built like tanks. So for it to get hit and be on its side, I was like, oh my God, you know, this is bad. Yeah. So, you know, we heard there was 3 patients, you know, everybody's getting out of their cars. People are screaming. And I heard this, and I'm like, what the hell? Where's that coming from? And I looked, and it was a kid. I want to say he ended up being around 13. He was on his hands and knees, and he was descalped.
Oh.
The back of his head, his hair like hung out in front of his face, like from the back of his neck.
Right.
It hung out in the front of his face. And I was like, and I'll never forget, we had a new guy with us, and I looked at him. His name was Cliff. And I said, Cliff, help that guy. And I went down the street because there was a lady down the street, and there was a dude doing CPR on her. And I figured this kid, this is what we were always taught. As far as triaging a scene when you walk up, if you hear somebody screaming and yelling, they ain't that bad.
They're not as bad as the quiet ones. Right.
Well, this lady was, I mean, she was a good 300 feet from the accident, She was ejected. She hit the road so hard, she probably skid 30 feet. She was burnt. Like her skin was literally burnt from the asphalt. And another medic was driving by and seen it and stopped. And he got out to aid her. He was doing CPR. I went over to aid him. The driver was dead. He was dead. He was buried in his steering wheel because they had hit so hard. But in those two medics, I think one, she broke her leg, and another one hurt his back, but it was nothing real serious.
Right.
But it was just a bad day. I mean, a bad, for anybody that's, listening, when you hear the light sirens, get over. Whatever you're doing is not that important. It could be one of your loved ones that they're going to help. Be safe about it.
The worst ones. Here's the thing, and maybe that will be an episode of EMS Underground about the realities of lights and sirens. They are dangerous. You have to be so careful when you're using those to drive. And as a citizen, I've almost rear-ended somebody because all of a sudden you hear a siren somewhere and light. And instead of being smart and looking around to see where it was, they slammed on their brakes. They didn't pull over slowly, carefully. They slammed on their brakes, which made me slam on my, and there's a chain reaction. And yeah, you gotta be so careful with that.
That's I don't know about your all's department, but I know in our department we didn't get a lot of that. We didn't get a lot of driver's training.
Right. Yeah, in school you don't.
Yeah, you don't. It's like now, you're making an emergency run. Good luck. Kind of what it's supposed to do. So be careful. And you're like, holy crap. I mean, I'll never forget the first emergency run. It was like, I mean, my butt cheeks were clamped on that seat, I'm sure. Right.
I got to imagine, because I don't remember 100% clearly, but I do remember my first as well. I think I had my gloves on as soon as I'm in the truck. I'm like, let's get there. My partner's like, shut up, man. You're wrong. And that does remind me about my driving safely. And that's the thing. License sirens are permission. Hey, look out. I'm here. Please get out of the way. And my partner, we were going through some kind of car wreck, and he was driving way too fast for the road. And I didn't know any better. I'm like, hurry up, let's get there. And we come around the corner, and there's the scene. And he locks up the brakes and slides right up to, like, the fire truck and the cops. And everybody's like, you get out, the brakes are smoking. That's not the way to handle that at all for any reason. It was very, very dangerous. So be careful. But that going back to the ambulance story that I talked about getting hit, the accident they had, that EMT had a long time to come back. And when he did come back, he was real jittery. And rightfully so. He refused to get in the back of the truck for a while. Because here's the thing. There are only two windows in the typical ambulance, well, three technically in the typical ambulance. There's a side door with a window that you're never looking at unless you're in the captain's seat maybe. There's a back door with roughly 4 windows in it that you can see behind you. But side to side, you're not seeing anything. And the third technical window is there's one between you and the cab so you can talk to whoever's driving. That kind of thing. But that's not really a window you can look at. So for all intents and purposes, when you're doing your job, you don't see anything. So all of a sudden, he's doing his job, thinking in most transports, especially if an EMT can be in the back, it's a simple thing. So more than likely, he'd already done his vital signs. He was just sitting there writing on his clipboard, and then literally his world turns over out of nowhere. So
I can only imagine.
Yeah, right? So he definitely got burned, not in the sense of fire burn, but he got damaged in that sense of where he had a real hard time getting in the back of the truck. I know he made some really, really dumb decisions on how to cope. Well, I'll tell you, Travis, then we'll wrap up the show. One of the decisions he made after he came back, everything's fine. He's putting on this be strong bravado, and here we go, right back full circle to where we started. He was being strong, and no, I'm fine. He went to a party with a bunch of other young people, and they were of age to drink. They were legally of age, but they were young, dumb, and made some bad decisions. and he ended up taking a 3cc syringe, Travis, filling it up with tequila and mainlining it, right?
Oh my God.
And instantly hit the ground. Because for those of you who don't know what mainlining is, he put it right into his blood vessels. Right. I honestly think he probably hit a vein, and because those are easier than hitting an artery. But it still instantly went to his, instead of being processed through the stomach and the liver and everything else, it instantly went through his body, to his heart, to his brain, and he passed out. He got instant poisoning. I don't remember if they ended up taking him to the ER or not.
Oh my!
At this party, I think they just kind of pushed him in the corner and hoped he lived. And he's proudly telling the story himself, like 2 days later. And at that point, it's like, my whole world was changing during that time as well. I'd already had my injury. I'd learned lessons about priorities in life, somewhat, not enough, because there's many other stories I can tell, which I tell on one of my other shows of how I learned some of this other stuff. But I'd learned to take care of yourself. And I told him to his face, I will never work with you now. And you really should be fired, because not only did you steal supplies, which is honestly in EMS a 3-3, little things go missing all the time, right? People take home a fluid bag to their sick uncle or whatever. It's not right, but most services are like, okay, you're actually kind of helping people. We're here to help you. We're going to let it slide. But technically, he stole supplies, right? But he did something so epically stupid that could have killed him and put everybody else in jeopardy around him. Yeah, that was like, I can't work with you, man.
He's not a guy that needs to be behind the wheel of an ambulance. You know what I mean? Or
but that decision making, right? Yeah,
right. Bad decision making, yeah. Right?
And I don't know what he ended up doing. I think he ended up leaving shortly after that, and who knows where he went. But there are stories. There are our stories today of taking care of yourself versus being strong. When you're, and I mean quotey fingers being strong. What Travis says about leading, showing the people he deserves to be here. Sometimes that is paying your dues. Sometimes you have to be strong. I told the story about the kid who died, and the entire crew ends up looking at me at some point, and I had to be strong for them, even though inside of my head I'm going, this is textbook, and this kid's dead, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I did not even know how to process it. But when they looked at me, because they're feeling the same thing, I was like, we're going to get this done. Here's how we do it. Follow me. That's true being strong. So when I say quotey fingers being strong, it's the pretending. Always take care of yourself. And that, Travis, man, with as much as they teach us this in EMT school, and I bet they teach this in firefighter school, take care of yourself first. Scene safety. If you don't take care of yourself, how can you help anybody else? That is beaten into you every step of the way, and yet we don't. Right? Travis had his back problems. I had my knee, and there's thousands and millions of other stories out there of people along the same lines. So take care of yourself. If you see somebody around you who needs help, tell them that you're going to give them help and help them, because if they won't ask, sometimes it has to be given. And that's how it was for me. I wasn't asking my fire crew and my partner to do everything for me. They had to force it on me, and I appreciated it greatly. Right. So
an old retired medic tell me something when I was new, and I'll never forget it. And I tell myself, it's kind of one of those things that you repeat in your head and you don't even realize you're. But he always said that, he was always so cool and so laid back. We made a guy one time where his legs got cut off by a train. He was he'd actually gotten beat up and left, and they had cut his legs off. And when we made him, he was still conscious with no legs. And this dude was an iceberg. He was cool, calm, collective. And he told me one time, we are here to be part of the solution. We didn't cause the problem. We're here to be part of the solution. So if you're doing something to endanger yourself or endanger your crew, you're not being part of the solution. You're actually being part of the problem.
Perfect, man.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that is really, really, really good. So Travis, you can find him on the Blazing Defender Report, and we have the .com, right?
Yes.
BlazingDefenderReport.com. He does comic book reviews. They're very not safe for work, but he's a ton of fun. And if that's your style, man, he does comic book reviews. You can see the great memorabilia he has behind him with the comic toys and the Captain America shields. You can find more of me at charlesmcfault.com. I do a ton of shows, from comic book based shows, which is how Travis and I know each other, to Pokemon Go, to stories about my life in a show called Rock God of Podcasting. And that particular show is not safe for work either. But I tell you in no uncertain terms what I've learned and how I learned it and what I went through. And if you like what we do here, you might like some of that. Thanks, Travis, for being on and sitting in for Tom today. And
thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Bringing that different perspective in is very, very good. And hopefully I'll get my tech straight to where we can take more live questions and do that kind of thing. Always check out the Georgia Institute of EMS on Facebook.com. And, of course, check out the school. There's a phone number there. They've got EMT Basic and EMT Advanced going on in Georgia. Of course, the school is only for Georgia currently, but these shows that we do is for everybody. Everybody in every field that wants to listen and learn something. That's what this is for. We'll be back next Thursday, probably on Facebook Live. We'll see how this works out, with another episode. And thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.